I mean, do we want to keep going? Samuel, Mostert, like their whole team has been decimated. So that gives me a little bit more hope for Thursday night for Green Bay. But next running back up, I know Tevin Coleman's out too. Hasty will come in there. McKinnon will come in there. They'll run the football in that defense because I think Neek, me, and Woody could run the ball in that defense.
Well, that's really the question, D. Wood. Do you expect, regardless of all the people that aren't there, do you expect the 49ers to be able to run it down the throat of the Packers the way they did last year and the way Minnesota did last week?
Maybe not like how they did last year, but I expect them to be successful against the Green Bay Packers running the ball because guess what? Kyle Shanahan knows how to scheme up a running game. But you would have to think that the Green Bay Packers, just off the fact that you got Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position, and whoever the quarterback is of the San Francisco 49ers, that's a huge advantage. If Green Bay doesn't win this game, boy, they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Meanwhile, so that's an interesting thought because the Niners are a team that were in the Super Bowl a year ago. But yes, decimated completely and probably playing in the toughest division in the NFL. Graziano, what are we hearing out of San Francisco about their own expectations for the rest of their season?
The Niners believe that they have one of the deepest rosters in the league and can withstand injury issues. However, they're at an inconceivable level in terms of their injury issues. So even inside that building, people are admitting it's going to be tough. Everybody believes in Kyle Shanahan's ability to scheme up successful plays in the run game, but don't forget how important George Kittle is to their run game as one of the very best, if not the best, blocking tight ends in the league. They're going to miss his absence in more than just the passing game. It's just an example of how shredded they are overall.
Nick, shredded enough that we just eliminate them when we talk about the teams that we could see doing anything of consequence this year? Is it time to just cross San Francisco off the list?
Yeah, I think it's time to cross them off the list because anything of consequence will require them to win the Super Bowl. They made it last year, and I don't think that they're a team that can win the Super Bowl. But I do think that your take on the Packers needing to invest in bringing some players, like it's going to look real bad if they don't blow out the 49ers this weekend because this team is not built to win if they can't win this weekend.
Do they win this visit? Do you think that they do? You like Green Bay? We'll make it an early pick for a Thursday night game that does have a lot of meaning for both teams. You like Green Bay?
I absolutely like Green Bay. They have to win this game. We go back to all the injuries and the 49ers. We haven't talked as much about the losses that they have on defense. Those are hugely important when you're going up against a guy like Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay has to win this game, and they do win this game.
All right, that's where next weekend in the NFL will begin. Tomorrow night with a rematch of the NFC Championship game. Meanwhile, speaking of NFC contenders, Antonio Brown officially begins practicing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today after serving an 8-game suspension for multiple violations of the NFL's personal conduct policy, expected to start Sunday night against the Saints. Here's head coach Bruce Arians.
He has to handle his own business off the field. On the field, just define your role, accept it, embrace it, and make sure you're making the right plays, and we'll get you the ball. Yeah, it really depends how the game goes. If we're successful with the package that we put him in, we'll probably run it more. He'll have his role, and it could be 10 plays, it could be 35 plays. I wouldn't anticipate 60 plays for sure, but we'll just see how it goes.
Now, we'll go on the field with this in just a minute, but let me just start, Graziano, with the business piece of this. I think there is a perception amongst a lot of people that this was just Tom Brady's decision. Brady said, I want Antonio Brown here. Is that an accurate perception of the situation?
Yes, it's accurate to say that Tom Brady drove the decision. We know how excited he was to get a chance to play with Antonio Brown last year in New England, how he wished that had been a longer period of time, and how he stayed in touch with Antonio Brown and left him voicemail messages saying things like, wherever I go, you're coming with me. We know that the head coach of the Buccaneers, Bruce Arians, said during the offseason that this signing would not happen, and said some negative things about Antonio Brown based on their history together in Pittsburgh, yet here he is. I think it's pretty easy to put two and two together and say this is a move driven by Tom Brady.
Okay, and he's living in Brady's house, which is a big piece of this because, Dominique, just from a teammate standpoint, let's take the very real and significant off-the-field issues. There's still an open investigation on the part of the NFL. Let's just deal with the football side of this. He had problems in his locker room in Pittsburgh. He worked his way out of Oakland before he even got there. How confident are you, based upon that relationship with Brady, that piece of this will go well?
Yeah, I'm confident that that part will go well, in part because what really makes Antonio Brown happy is getting the ball. And it seems that Tom Brady is very invested in making sure that this decision looks like the right one. If we know that he was the one that was pushing and championing, bringing in AB, and we know that AB is living in his house and he's been texting AB all offseason, I promise you that Tom Brady is going to make sure that AB is heavily involved in this game plan and he makes sure that he gets the ball. It's going to be a short season, just a few months for AB, and he's going to get enough targets to keep him happy, and hopefully he can keep his head on straight off the field.
All right, so I'm just going to try and figure out how that's going to work. So, Damien Woody, I'm just thinking you've got AB is going to come in, and Tom Brady is going to make sure that he gets fed the football plenty. And then you've got Mike Evans, and then you've got Chris Godwin, and then you've got Gronk, and they still have Leonard Fournette, and they have Rojo, and they have all of these guys. It sounds like, let me put it this way, it's a nice problem to have, but it may still be a problem. You have a lot of mouths to feed. How does that work, D. Wood?
Yeah, there's only one football to go around, but I think the most important thing everyone understands is winning a championship. Listen, those guys down there have been playing with, Jameis Winston and with all the turnovers, and now you got a quarterback in here with a championship pedigree. And you only get one opportunity at these things, and the way everything is lined up for them is they feel like in that locker room they have an opportunity to do something special with a special quarterback. So yes, there's a lot of guys, and they're going to want their touches. But at the end of the day, the championship is what matters most with people in the locker room.
Sure. So championship being the operative word. David Pollack, if we look at the best teams in the NFC right now, you've got Seattle sitting there with one loss. You've got New Orleans, who the Buccaneers will play on Sunday night, who've already banked a win against Tampa in that division. You've got Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, who we've talked about. In your opinion, are the Buccaneers the likeliest team to win the NFC Championship with this acquisition?
They are. And I think it's important when you start talking about all these mouths to feed. Like, Fournette chose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after the fact. He knew that. Rob Gronkowski chose the Buccaneers knowing about Cameron Braid and O.J. Howard. Like, Antonio Brown chose the Buccaneers knowing about Evans and Godwin and all the weapons. So I think that's an important point to bring up. Like, they kind of know what they're getting into when it comes to Bruce Arians, too, because he's a no-nonsense guy. But the Buccaneers, it's not just the offense, man. I watch their defense, and they daggum swarm. I mean, they swarm the football. They play exceptionally hard. The line keeps the guys, does a great job of keeping those linebackers free, David, who can fly, White, who can fly. They're good in the secondary. So, yeah, the Tampa Bay Bucs, to me, are the best team. Most complete team.
Yeah, that's 5 daggums on the show, by the way, for those of you who are keeping track at home, which is a good number. It is a record, actually. 1 was the record on this program, and you've now quintupled the record. But that said, let me ask you a similar question to that, Dominique Foxworth, which is exactly that. All these guys having chosen to come there, at the end of the day, they're choosing to come play with Tom Brady. That's something we hear about in basketball a lot. It's not something we hear about in football a lot. These guys are choosing to come play with the GOAT, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, Godwin and Evans didn't choose to come down there. They were already there. So those are the chief guys who might be upset by this. But everything I've heard about Mike Evans and Godwin is that they are comfortable with this situation and they're going to be okay with it. But I do think that's important to point out, that they're choosing to go down there. And that's the power of Brady. If you're talking about an MVP argument, you have to consider the value that he brings of all these other guys. Like, he brought a Hall of Fame tight end out of retirement. That's value. He brought all these other players down there. He's bringing a Hall of Fame receiver to his team. That's also value that doesn't show up in the stats. And you see it happening with Patrick Mahomes out in Kansas City, where Lev Bell could have gone anywhere, but he decided that's where he wants to go. And that's going to be something that happens for a short period of time down there in Tampa Bay, where guys who are looking to chase a ring towards the end of their career or looking for a great situation to showcase their talent, they're going to be more likely to take pay cuts or take different situations to be down there with Tom Brady. And that's something valuable that Tom Brady brings that we're not necessarily counting.
I like that. So, Dan Graziano, how about this for a hot take? Tom Brady has brought Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, and Antonio Brown to Tampa. He should be the executive of the year. Ooh. There's not one executive of the. I guarantee you Green Bay wouldn't have done it. Green Bay be sitting around thinking, well, we've got Aaron Rodgers. He can do this all by himself. We don't need to make any moves to fortify this. Tom Brady is not only in the MVP conversation, he should be the executive of the year. What do you think of that, Graziano?
I like it. I'd also like to see the reality TV show of Antonio Brown living in Tom Brady's house. I think we need to hook this up because there's all kinds of potential there for hilarity. You know, he comes downstairs, the kids are upset that AB ate all the Frosted Flakes or whatever. I think there's a lot of potential in that.
And hijinks ensue. What do you think, Dominique? Can we produce this?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure Tom Brady's got security cameras all over the place. We just got to find the right price to buy that thing and edit it into